be something acceptable?
I know
or
it
useful?
could be traumatic. I would say, spontaneously, I would say they're too young. Should have a feeling how far is a child in his mind and in his development. I think it's very good that we try to take care of the children and to listen to them and to protect them from massive sexual or aggressive influences.
To introduce these concepts, especially touching each other, touching themselves, could that not be fundamentally a very dangerous thing?
But not doing practice. No,
not hands-on.
No.
So is that?
I think it's too early.
We make a teacher
like a seminar.
A seminar, yeah. And it's called Body Love Doctors, yeah.
Certain brochures, such as Body Love and Playing Doctor, written by ISP, were distributed nationwide to 650,000 people. They mention such abhorrent matters and disgusting acts. Such as, fathers do not devote enough attention to the clitoris and the vagina of their daughters. Their caresses too seldom pertain to these regions, while this is the only way the girls can develop a sense of pride in their sex. Stipulated in the booklet regarding children of 1 to 3 years of age.
If young children play together, you say Doktorspiele. They play to be by a doctor. So it's a kind of, we don't say, oh, they explore themselves. We say in Germany, they make Doktorspiele.
Yes, okay.
But you can't translate it really in English, I think. It's different.
Maybe it's lost in translation.
Yeah.
I think they mean Dr. Bishop.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Black, yeah.
The ISP manager is telling us that their program is teaching adults to allow children to express their sexuality freely, if they wish, to explore one another or play doctor. You may supervise them, but you cannot tell them to stop. What he explained to us sounded more like sexual roleplay. Of course, children do roleplay, as we see, perhaps learning how to cook, but to allow such things to carry on just teaches children. They may touch whomever they feel like.
This started about 30 years ago, this project?
Yeah.
What was the motivation behind it? Was it more from the government or from the private institution itself?
I think it was a mixture. It was the government who has an interest that the sexual education has to be more prevalent.
Yes.
BZGA,
Yes.
And we made we worked with them to make the guidelines, and now we are working with these guidelines because it was a transformation process. There were a lot of other people who are working to produce the guidelines for sexual education, and so we are part of this development, and now we agree with these guidelines and we work with these guidelines.
So it's theoretical and practical in the sense that the theory is put there and then you put it into practice.
Yeah, we put it in practice, yeah.
What's the idea behind it is kind of like that they say it has to be open and it has to be discussed so that people are educated about it, so they don't do something that,
Yeah, I mean, I've read articles where they say, oh, if you prepare children, if you give them this knowledge, then they'll be able to protect themselves if they're in a situation where they might face abuse or something.
Yeah.
But come on, I mean, virtually this is abuse in itself. I mean,
it's over the top. Yani, okay, it's nice to tell children if you're abused, tell someone. It's also okay to say you have to do contraception, but do I have to say that in primary school to like 7-year-old children?
Exactly.
No. Do I have to ask them about what exactly specific experiences they had? Of course not. That's not, you know.
These thoughts aren't playing in your mind at that age, so why would you push it to someone?
Push it, exactly. And to be honest with me, I was very shocked. Like, it wasn't in my mind. I don't know about the other school children, but I was like, oh wow, okay.
I think the government noticed that it's necessary to do something in this field.
Well, why, Sebastian? What was the reason for that? You know, what was going on in society?
Because we have had a lot of young people, young women, who became babies in old, if they are 16 years old or something like this, and this increased a lot.
So Sebastian of ISP seems to fail to see the full picture. Young teenager pregnancy rates are actually increasing, whilst if we look at the graph, we can see that abortion rates have spiked in the last decade or so, especially during the intense phase of this so-called sex education program, from around 30% in 1996 to 45% in 2011 in West Germany amongst 15 to 19-year-olds. How could this imply that children are becoming empowered by sex education to make the right decisions about their future? How many young girls would choose this traumatic sequence of events for themselves, an unborn child? And what about the many unrecorded cases of backstreet abortion?
They said things like sexually transmitted diseases was behind the encouragement of this so that people would be aware and avoid falling into these traps. But ultimately we see the rates of these kind of things are increasing anyway. So what is their motivation? It can't be these things, can it?
Exactly. As you said, sexual transmitted diseases are on the rise. Yes, of course, there are less teen pregnancies, but in other countries like Japan, you see the same phenomena. And they don't have this kind of sexual education. So I don't really think that this is the motivation behind it. I think there are some sick minds behind that. I really do not see that the benefit is educational at all.
Pregnancy of young women is really low, and that's in Germany. We reach it. It's really low at the moment. It was much more higher in former years.
And the reduction in transmission disease as well, sexual disease is changed.
Yeah, also too. Yeah, it's changed too. Yeah, it's really low at the moment.
Sebastian uses the justification that teenage pregnancy rates have risen to validate his program. However, if the rate change is still positive, how does this apply any degree of success for ISP? Especially when we consider the agency have now been active for 30 years or more in Germany. Significantly, in the most sensitive teenage group, 10 to 14 years, the actual number of births has increased from 111 in 2010 to 145 in 2015.
We hope that this empowerment, if the people learn to are empowered in their sexual life, they could also. We hope that they are empowered also in other way of life, in all aspects, what relationships or human being is.
So in other words, you can't be a rounded human being unless you have all of these aspects working positively, is what you're saying, right? You know, you need to be sexually empowered, career-minded, and also all these things together to be happy.
That's it. You have to discuss with the other man. You have to speak, and so you have to. If you have problems, you have to speak about the problems, and if you make this, you are empowered and you are open.
You guys promote that if both children are happy to touch each other, to explore with each other, and both accept, you let them carry on.
So you can say so from what that would be any age basically, as long as
even if they're two. It's fine.
We train them to make the possibilities, to allow the possibilities. Perhaps they have to construct a corner with how do you call this?
Curtain.
Yeah, you know, with curtain and so they could.
So they could have some kind of area where they're private.
Yeah, and so we explained, okay, you have to make something like this.
So that was kind of weird. As you can see, we've just interviewed Sebastian, who claims to be the manager of this institute, which is propagating what can only be said as a very weird method of educating children. This is not just for children, this is for children in youth clubs, in schools, in all these kind of enterprises, and it's promoting for the kids to go and basically masturbate amongst themselves, to sit in corners and draw a curtain around themselves and explore one another's bodies at the age of 2 or 3. You know, and there's a guy sitting there leaning back in a chair as if this is something that's good stuff, you know, and he's got a big grin on his face. I mean, as if it's normal behavior to sit there and go and play in a corner and put a curtain around yourself and start playing with another child's private parts without any parental consent here, without any understanding of what they're getting involved in. At one point he even mentions that if you notice this behaviour going on in the corner, you just leave it alone and carry on with the lesson, as if you know, this is all like everyone's got a right to do what they want. Yeah, of course, to an extent, but this is liberation for children of 0 virtually, you know, for kids that are just in a play school to play and get involved in these perverse acts, and once again with no parental consent here.
Under the guise of sexual health, they market the use of pornographic material in children's books and videos masked as safe sex instruction.
I found that very disturbing.
I mean,
so
you see images like this.
They have subliminals, like what they do in Disney, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I found, this was for me the most shocking one, because that's not even a subliminal. That's just like a man kissing a little baby, you know, and then you show this to kids and read it to them at night. I find that very...
yeah, with shocking symbols in the background.
I find that very messed up. I mean, that's obvious. And I think that the most terrible thing is that even the parents don't notice, many of them. Like, I know that, like, my grandmother would have been reading this to me and would thought this is completely normal.
Such programs encourage self-discovery of genitalia and masturbation. A program formulated whose vision derives from Kinsey. And no doubt we come full circle when we reveal our investigation of the intentions of ISP, a private agency at the forefront of pushing for reform in sex education for refugees and infants in Europe. There is no coincidence their mission statement concurs with Kinsey when they seek to educate children from birth under the guise of sexual freedom and empowerment. If the new system was working, why are there a record-breaking 2.3 million cases of STDs in 2017? Realize that there is an organization, the World Health Organization,
yes,
linked to BZGA, which is the Federal Health in Cologne.
Yeah.
And they are promoting a new standards for sex education.
Okay.
They introduced in 2000
okay.
this program, and it includes things like from the first 10 years, children are having sexual feelings even in early infancy, and that they should be looking to discover their own bodies, including masturbation, self-stimulation, and exploring these things. They actually say from 0 to 4 years that it's okay for the children to be involved in masturbation, in these practices.
Isn't it a bit early? In my opinion, or
what is your opinion?
In my opinion, how do I say it?
Age.
Like, it's a bit too early, I would say. Like, how do you...
and if you were aware that perhaps people were introducing the concept of children going to play in a corner behind a curtain,
I wouldn't encourage it.
Not only clean their children, but to get pleasure while doing so, and to how would you think about this?
First of all, is a child capable of feeling such things as pleasure in the early years? And secondly, I think it's somewhat child abusing, because I see a difference between just cleaning my son or giving my son pleasure. When I'm saying giving my son pleasure, I mean just like warming him up or cuddle him, like normal people should do, and things like giving him a pleasure in his body, somewhere in his body parts, is for me sort of child abusing. Like, it shouldn't be allowed. Like I'm saying,
no,
it shouldn't be done.
But obviously, if let's say a woman was observing this from her husband, how can she make a complaint when it's legislated by the law? What is this?
Yeah, that would be difficult.
Is this, how would you feel about this if that was your mother with her and your brother or something?
Yeah, very strange. Like I would take a distance from it, because for me personally it's very strange to seeing that my little brother, like very young age, getting pleased by my mother just after cleaning. That's very absurd, and it's very disgusting.
Because the actual law promotes, the law says it gives them legal rights as long as they consent to do these things, and the parents cannot intervene.
I think it shouldn't be allowed, even by law, that someone is allowed to touching my son in school when he don't want to, because everyone has his own personal space, and the personal space has a very small degree, so that's okay and that's not okay.
With 16 and 17, 18 is good, but for children it's not good.
And
I think so, because the children have not more idea for this sex.
There should be rules, and they should be taught what to do, and no, not what to do, but there should be boundaries, and these boundaries should be clear. I think yes, and I think a child in this early stage, in these early years, can't or doesn't know what boundaries there are, and how long these or how to stay in these boundaries and not overtake them.
So how did you think it would end up with the child then in later life?
I think, maybe that's a really good question. Maybe it could harm them in a way, because they think it's okay to experience with other people whatever they want about their sexuality. Maybe they how to call it? It will be too common for them, like they don't know their the
boundary.
Yes. Maybe they will force others to do what they want, because they thought it's okay. It's like we learned in the early years.
To reflect on the public's concern about the future for our next generation, is it not abundantly clear the tragedy is not already unfolding in front of our very eyes? Have not child-on-child sex abuse cases as a whole in Europe escalated already? A Guardian report in 2017 stated that so-called peer-on-peer abuse rose from 4,603 cases in 2013 to over 7,850 cases in 2016, an increase of over 70%. And this was based on police stats.
It's typical for the young children, and that's the same way you have to allow this. But nowadays, there are a lot of older parents who are really afraid of if the children made them nude. Because they are, what's going on, and it's not, we don't allow this, and so. But it's very important for the development of children to explore the bodies and to explore other bodies. And
I found it strange how normal he felt to mention such a thing. Sex education has been mandatory in Germany since 1992, and it's been taught in most schools in the country since the 70s. I was looking into this sexual institutions, the government links and education links. It's a big issue, and let's be honest, you're a product as a German citizen of this system. Can you tell us a little bit about it, of how it affected your childhood?
I mean, I never really reflected on it, to be honest, because it was so normal that this was talked about all the time. But now when I think about it, it's actually crazy. For example, in elementary school, second grade or maybe even first grade, I'm not sure which is like how old, 10? No, it's 6, 7 years old. Elementary school. I remember sitting in my elementary school and our teacher would tell us to gather all the words that we know for private parts of the different sexes. So they would of course
slang and stuff like that?
Slang, everything, every single one of them, and that they had heard from whatever, like their parents or any big brother or sister, and we would write them all down. Like, I remember this exercise very clearly, and it was very strange to me at the time, but we'd laugh a lot. We were like kids, you know? And a lot of strange words came out of that.
For what purpose and what benefit to your education?
I have no idea. This was it's called the Sexualkunde, yani sexual classes, like classes about like discussing just the matter of sexual education. I had that in primary
Specific lessons just for this?
Specific lessons just for this, yes. We did have that, actually.
Incredible.
And as I said, primary school, because I remember it was my primary teacher.
If I told some friends or if I'm going to I talk with my neighbors, and I told them, I'm CEO of the Institute for Sexual Education, they are very astonished, because it's not really common to speak about sexual education in Germany too. It's not, and the neighbors are, there are two possibilities. There are some who say, what are you doing there, over there? And there are some who change the subject we talk about. So it's
still taboo a little bit.
Yeah, I like my job. I make it really. I'm proud to make it like this. And mostly I tell other people, but there are some situations I don't tell so much about sexual education.
This is not even the first time that ISP been exposed for their sordid, dirty act. More than 9 years ago, Michael Handel, in his book, clearly states they're encouraging adults, yes, grandparents, to fondle, kiss the genitalia of infants. And likewise, history repeats itself. Like with Kinsey, ISP are using a professor to attempt to give scientific validation to their sordid work. Professor Seeler promotes sex as life energy, and that children are, of course, sexual from birth. The publication Body Love Playing Doctor quite simply hides sex abuse in games. Have we not blurred the line so much that paedophilia is now moving into mainstream acceptance?
Child sex educators, you have been unmasked.